Good evening. My name is Minister Johnny Banks Sr. I'm Executive Director of A Knock at Midnight. A Knock at Midnight is located at 400 West 76th Street in Suite 206. As always, it's glad to be back. It is an exciting time to be back with the election just being over, the president being reelected. So we're looking forward to what's going to happen next. We're looking forward to this inauguration. And just getting back to the business of running this country and us getting back to the business of trying to help him do just that, which is the better life for ourselves, better life for our families, better life for our neighbors, better life for this country as a whole. We all can participate in that because we all can serve. And so we all are capable of making brighter days for ourselves and the people around us. Again, I have tonight with me Eric Carlton, the Chief Executive of Banner Schools. And I'm just thank you for being back, Eric, and I'm glad you took the time to come back and spend a little time with us.
My pleasure.
You know, with so much going on with the hurricane and the nor'easter in the east part of the country, like I said, we just newly been reelected. We got new laws on the book. We got changing of the guard. We got a lot of stuff going on. But always, I'm one of those people I like to try to come back and stay close to what's going on in the city of Chicago, what's happening with our youth, what's happening with the people that we serve, because we have to continually crank out new ideas, new information, a better understanding of what we need to do for our children. And myself, along with Eric, one of our major priorities is the education of youth in the city of Chicago, with the plight of schools, with the plight of education, how we can better serve the children, the students, the pupils of Chicago public schools, the charter school, private schools, wherever those children are. How can we, as men of goodwill, as men who are trying to provide better services, and not only services but better services, what can we do to stand and be part of the leadership of change? You know, as we continue to progress educationally and we continue to progress in a lot of different ways, we are part of that catalyst of change. And whether we want to be or not, we are part of that change. And so we're going to talk a little bit about tonight about how we view what's coming down the pipe in terms of education from a grassroots perspective, not from this big perspective, not from the top of the mushroom, but down below, down where the rubber meets the road, where we are trying to improve behavior, where we're trying to improve attendance, where we're trying to improve grades, we're trying to improve facilities, we're trying to improve the education of our youth. And that takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of participation, and sometimes we're getting that participation, sometimes we're not. So Eric, what I want to do is I want to start this show with posing a question, and maybe you could kind of expand on the question a little bit. And so when it comes to education, what is your vision of it for education for our youth today?
Well, my vision really comes from within.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about ensuring that all young people are focused on achievement. And when I mean achievement, I mean how do we as individuals better ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
How do we become better human beings and therefore being able to better our communities? And so when we think about education, what does that really mean? It means that young people understand who they are and whose they are.
Okay.
It means that young people understand what it takes, that it is hard work. It takes a great deal of effort to educate oneself.
Mm-hmm.
And it means that the entire community has to come together in order for our young people to be effectively educated. And so when I think about where we are as a society, and I think about right here in the city of Chicago, with all of the challenges that our young people face, much different than what we faced when in our youth. Our young people come to school each and every day. Many have been underserved. At times they don't have food, clothing, shelter, the basic needs, the basic needs. And so it really does take the entire community just to meet those basic needs to get them there. But once they arrive, the focus really has to be on how do we help our young people to be able not only to help themselves, but to be competitive globally. It's not just about, you think about I saw some statistics over the weekend where there are thousands of jobs out there where in the United States we're unable to fill those positions because we don't have highly qualified individuals in those particular areas to fill those positions. Well, our young people are brilliant, and so we have to figure out how do we provide our young people with the skills, with the aptitude to ascertain those positions. They deserve those positions, and they are certainly there. We have to make sure that not only are they there to get those jobs, but also to create their own jobs. You were talking earlier this evening about the fact and the need for us to come ahead, that we have been operating at a deficit where we're 15 years behind. And even from an educational standpoint, at times we've operated in that manner. We have to be ahead of the curve. We have to understand what new technologies are out there,
Right.
And ensure that our students, our youth, are being exposed to those technologies, that they are being exposed to the cutting edge thinking as it relates to innovation, period.
That's right.
And when we do that, we set them up for success. When we don't, obviously, they're set up for failure.
Absolutely. And one of the things we were talking about, viewing audience, is that, and I use the axiom that individuals excel rapidly, but groups excel slowly over a period of time. So individually, we have a number of our young people, a number of our young adults, and some of our adults who individually, they are able to excel and move forward and make a way for themselves. But as a collective, as a group, by groups excelling slowly over a period of time, we'll find that the individual will be so far ahead that when he looks back, the group is still so far behind that as all new ideas and new technology consistently shows up, the group can't catch up to it. And so we take technology for the next century and we turn it into games. And so we've taken the computer and we've taken the components of the computer, and we, instead of learning computer literacy in terms of data entry and those things that will bring forth careers and will bring forth the resources you need to make a life for yourself, then we stop at Facebook and we stop at other social networking things. And we know where people can surf the internet, but they can't search it for a job. They can't search it for employment, but they can surf it and use Twitter and all these other things that have no bearing on how to live or how to get resources so that you can provide for yourself. See, so when we look at it, as we're now in the midst of change, every time you turn on the TV now and you hear change, as we're trying to figure out now what to do with some schools. We're trying to figure out how to not unemploy people, how to keep everything the way it is, but also in the midst of change, keep everything the way it is. You can't keep things the way it is in the midst of change. When change shows up, that means something has to change.
Right.
Something has to be done differently. And we are now trying to figure out what it is. As a matter of fact, if our viewing audience on Wednesday at 8:30, Helping Hands of Inglewood is going to meet. And in our meeting, there'll be a group of organizations who we come together, we collaborate to talk about the needs of the Inglewood community, what those needs are, why those needs are what they are, and how we can come together as a collective, come forward together and see that the changes that takes place in Inglewood are methodical, they've been thought through properly, they encompass the needs of the people, because effective leadership has to blend its needs with the needs of the people to move the group forward. That has not been happening, which is why we've been getting so much ineffective leadership, because it has a need that it meets, but it does not meet the needs of its people. And so we've brought this group together, and it is a collection of the mayor's office, it's Chicago Public Schools, health groups, community-based organizations, the faith-based community. We've all come together, the police department, and we are meeting on a regular so we can at least take the community of Inglewood and bring it forward in the midst of so much change. because one of the biggest fights that we're about to have is this whole thing with school closings. And you know, there's something in it, that's called a paradigm shift. And many times we're not ahead of the shift. Things change around us and we don't see it change until after it changes. We see the results of change, but we're not making the change. And we got to get away from the back part of change and get into the front. I think you were saying earlier, Eric, you made a statement that you was talking about how in order to change your destiny, you first got to change history. Many of us want a different destiny, but not go and grind so that history can bear witness that we were part of the change. You know, so then if we're not part of the change, then our destiny is not destiny, it's something that we're destined to have to live with. You know, and so that is going to be our struggle, is where we work for change. We have a call on the line? Well, let's take a call. Caller, good
Hello?
evening. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, it's a joke for you saying to work with the mayor office, or rather Ron office.
Uh-huh.
Ron doesn't care if the people of Inglewood make it or not, nor do CPS. History has taught us that these people does not care. Just like the job fair he had, that job fair that was on 63rd and Kennedy King College was a joke.
Okay.
And for these schools are being closed basically for gentrification to bring, I hate to say it, but to bring white folks back into the neighborhood. This is not to talk about these schools are failing. Their parents.
Sir, the white folks are already back.
But see,
no. Well, come on. Well, let's have
Daly Senior.
I don't
that area. If you know, on 35th and to 47th, Daly Senior give us that area. Now they got flooded out in the suburbs, so now they say, okay, we want to come back.
Okay, can I?
Daly and Emmanuel, they got together and said, okay, we're going to close down these projects, and then we're going to move them to the suburbs, and then we're going to all.
No, hey, caller, we sorry we cut you off by mistake. Please call back. I appreciate you calling, and I really appreciate having a discussion with you. We have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi. Yes. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay.
My concern is, as we talk about change and the results of change, why we hear so little, or rather what we can do moving forward to get black communities, or just urban communities in general, more interested in the discussion on climate change and being environmentally conscious. You know, I was raised on the South Side. I am a vegan. I take the bus even though I have a car. I try not to litter, but I feel like those sorts of things have not necessarily been a priority in urban environments. Now we're beginning to see with some of these natural disasters that perhaps they should be.
And Carla, I thank you. And you know, those when we start talking about the environment, we start talking about global warming, we start talking about taking care of our natural resources. Those are real issues that have to be addressed. But when you have people who basic needs are not getting met, then those things become paramount to trying to solve the needs of a person. Because if the person can't eat, can't be clothed, or can't be fed, then trying to get them to talk about global warming or understand it, it's moot. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That's why it really goes back to your first question, which is our vision for education. You know, if young people are not being exposed to those topics, if they're not being exposed to those topics, if they are not getting their basic needs met, how do we move forward? How do we move forward? We are constantly running behind the pendulum. You know, I sit there and I think, and it constantly comes around. It's going in a circle. It's always cyclical. Right. And so we as a community are always running behind, right? Instead of, why are we not in front of it? Because we have not done all that we need to do to be educated as a community.
That's right.
We have forgotten, it goes back to what you have said earlier, we have forgotten our history. And because we don't know our history, we don't have a future, right? We have no insight, we have no vision for a future because we don't know what has been in the past.
Absolutely.
And so it's absolutely critical that the education systems, that we as a community, we as a people, that we educate ourselves and primarily focus on our youth. Absolutely. They are our future. It has to go, everything that we do has to be focused on our youth. They are our future. They are our hope. And without them, we will never meet with success. You know, I think that it's awesome that that President Obama has been reelected, and so it's my desire, obviously, that we support him in his efforts, and that we recognize that this is a unique opportunity in the world. It's a unique opportunity in the world to ensure, and especially for the African American community, that young people recognize that just with his very presence, and also you couple that with the fact that he is absolutely brilliant and that his heart is right, that young people can do anything they set their mind to. And so in order for that to occur, there are no more excuses. There are no more excuses. We as a people, we should not be dependent upon the government. Other communities, other ethnicities, they work together and they don't focus on the government. And I would like us to get to the point, and that's why I really appreciate your efforts in Inglewood on Wednesday night, that you're bringing that group together, because why are we worrying about what the government says and what the government is going to do? Why can't we help ourselves?
And
Other groups of people help themselves. We don't need the government to help us.
Right.
We don't need handouts.
see, we need assistance when we got something that we need to be assisted with. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right now, we need all the help we can get because we don't have anything that we can reach out to say, assist me with rebuilding Inglewood. I got the nails, I got the lumber, I got the labor. Can you give me some assistance? No, we want to go and ask for the nails, the labor, the lumber, everything that goes wrong with it. And I said, no, that's wrong. You're not doing anything in your interest, but you want somebody else to work 100% in your interest. Then that means you are selling yourself to the highest bidder. Right now, in the African Americans, we pay more for rent than any other ethnic group on the planet.
Yes, sir.
And we don't even realize that. But our living conditions are sometimes below standard living conditions. We're renting and living in places that are despicable and deplorable in terms of the conditions, but we're still stuck with the $700 and $800 a month rent. And the question is, why do we keep doing that? Because we won't collectively house our people. We won't do it collect. So our struggle is not that anything is wrong with anybody else. See, one of my former teachers used to say this statement to me all the time. He said, Johnny, be careful how you're dealing with people, especially when you start dealing with race, especially when you're dealing with black and white. Because what you'll mess around and do is lock in black devils and lock out white angels. And so I don't get into what's wrong with this person or what's wrong with that person. I can work with you. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you come from. I can work with you because I have a need, which is to extract resources to help young people. And I will come and give of my time and give of my talents and give of my skills to get those resources to serve these young people. And a lot of times we don't want to give anything. We want to take everything. And so now, let me give a good example, viewing audience. Before we take another call, let me give you an example, viewing audience. Tomorrow, at many of Chicago public schools, is something called report card pickup.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow. If we want to show something different, let's flood the schools with parents. Let's flood the schools with that energy that the teachers have already started to build.
That's right.
Because they're anticipating the parents showing up. They're anticipating being able to discuss and dialogue about the academics or the scholastic achievements of your children. Your children would like for you to show up. But if we want to go to some most recent history, we know that if a school has 1,000 students, they can't get 100 parents to show up, unless we go into some of the other, like we like to point out some of the other schools. Well, no, there's nothing different about those other schools except that if there's no textbooks there, if they have 1,000 students, then generally about 800 parents show up want to know why there's no textbooks. All we want to know is do you have homework? Not where your book with the homework, not your study materials. Where's your sheet? So our kids have been coming home since kindergarten with a sheet of paper. And as long as they got a sheet of paper and say that it's homework, it's okay with us. You know how far behind that kind of behavior is?
Once again, 15 years. We're always 15 years
And
behind.
so our children are being raised in a highly technological society. You know, where some of the tools of intellect are going unused. You know, and that's our struggle. Let's take another caller. Let's take one. Let's take somebody else. We're done? Okay. Well, listen. Let's keep going, Eric. Again, audience. My name is Minister Johnny Banks Sr. I'm a Knock at Midnight. We have Eric Carter, the CEO of Banner Schools, and it's just amazing, Eric, when we sit and just really dialogue, not just try to get too deep, but just have a dialogue about what we see down the road for education. Okay, if we could get past what school may close or what school may stay open, let's get past that. Let's get past teacher strikes. Let's get past all of that. And we just deal with what do we see 20 years from now. Because just like you have to make plans, we need a plan of what education should look like in low-income communities, what education should look like in underachieving schools, what teachers should look like, what curriculum should look like, you know, what should this look like? You know,